Hello.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. So let us start the class. Let us continue our discussion on machine learning lectures. So in this lecture, let us discuss on different aspects of feature extraction. This is in specifically referred to as feature selection or dimensionality reduction, or feature reducing the dimensions of the feature, effectively capturing the information, important information in the features. Okay, let us see some of the methods for dimensionality reduction or feature selection. I am sharing the screen. Okay. So what I am specifically discussing is a method for dimensionality reduction that is referred to as principal component analysis. PCA, it's widely known as. Okay. See, in the examples that we have seen so far, say especially in image processing based applications, say let this be some 100 cross 100 image or 200 cross 200 image. Okay, and we may take any kind of features. Assume that I may take the direct pixel intensities as features. Okay, so it is how many number of features do I have per image if I consider pixel intensities as features? Can one of you tell quickly how many features do I have for this image? Okay, if I consider pixel intensities as features. I need a quick answer. Huh? How many? Okay, we will have 4 into 10 power 4 or 40,000. Okay, cross 1 feature vector. Fine. Similarly, now assume that if I consider previously as we have considered, okay, so we have seen some 128 cross 64 image there. So let this be 256 cross 256 image. Okay, and then I am using HOC as feature vector for describing the whole image. Okay, why am I considering the features for the whole image? What application do you think it may be necessary? Oh, so can you imagine the application that I may be interested in if I consider the whole image as if I am finding features for whole image? Can you name an application where it is needed? I need quick answers. Otherwise, so our discussion will not move on. Can't you name a single application where I need the features for an image?
Detection of roads and other features in maps.
Detection of?
Detection of topological features like satellite images.
See, the problem there is, see, if I want to, within the image, if I want to do something, say for example, in the whole image, okay, some part is land, okay, so some part is whatever. So buildings, and other part is green area. Then I think it is say within the image features I need. I don't want to take the images for the whole image. Correct? So if this is buildings and this is water or whatever, so this is land. Okay, in such case, I take the features for each of the pixels, and then I will classify each pixel, okay, into one of these three categories. Okay, I take at each pixel a feature vector. Let this be whatever. Okay, x comma y comma intensity I of x comma y. Okay, and based on this feature vector at each pixel xy, I will put this into, okay, belongs to which category. So omega 1 or omega 2 or omega, which omega I. Okay, that's what I will do. This is referred to as segmentation, as I said before. Okay, but if I take the features for the whole image, it means that what kind of application I am targeting. In what kind of applications I may need this kind of features. Yeah, any other?
Corner detection, key points.
Okay, what is that corner detection? Okay, even in corner detection, if I want to do, why I want to do corner detection, I may have an image. Okay, I may have a template. This is template. Okay, and this is an image. I may say that this template, okay, this template may have some shape. Okay, some shape. Okay, I want to match this where this kind of objects are there in this. Okay. So then I will do template corner detection. I will find out some corner points. Okay. And then I will try to figure out match between this corner point and this corner point or whatever. Fine or not? Okay. So this is also a pixel based features I will go to. So I will take a patch around this corner point. Okay. And then find out features for it. Take a patch around this. Okay, take a patch around this and then find out the similarity and then say that template is matching, not matching, and so on. Now, this also I don't need features for the whole image. For template I may need, but for image I don't need. Yeah, which application do you think I need features for the whole image? Yeah, need few more answers from few other students. Yeah, guess actually, you should quickly guess.
Is it non-maximal suppression by any chance? Like suppressing the non-maximum pixels? We use gradients to do that. Like we need direction of gradients in that case.
See, the question here is, see, if you can use the gradients, it doesn't mean that gradients, if I find for an image, okay, I may use the gradients to suppress the local maxima, okay, non-local maxima. Then I am again doing a local operation. It is not the information that I'm extracting for the whole image at once. Is it not? Okay, I take a region. In this region, whether I will see whether it is a local maxima or not. Right? So that is again a local operation. Based on the gradients I am finding over the whole image, fine. But I'm using those gradients only at the local region. But here what I'm saying, all pixel intensities, whatever 200 plus 200, I put as a vector. Okay, I just, in other words, okay, I transform this to a big vector here. Okay, this vector is how much? Okay, 4,000, okay, 40,000 cross one vector. And say this is all as feature. Okay, oh, for that image. This kind of things, where do I want to use?
Somewhere like a image enhancements where whole image is used.
Okay, fine.
Histogram equalization.
Okay, histogramic. And, yeah.
Changing the contrast in the image.
Okay.
Means some pre-processing steps of like application.
Okay.
Where entire image is used, modified, and then used.
But do you need the features there? So I'm extracting here HOG features. Okay. Here I'm using pixel intensities as features, fine. But where do I want to use feature extraction?
So these global HOG features can be used for human, non-human classification.
Very good. So one example that we have seen is human, non-human classification. Any such other examples? where I need the global features. Okay, or can you name any other applications? So I have
Face
seen
recognition.
face recognition. See, even in face recognition, as I said, this is a face image. Assume that this image itself is a face image. Okay, so I will be using the whole face image features to recognize whose face it is. Fine. Right. Any other applications? Okay, either this, okay, or this are used in image classification tasks. Okay, in general, these are all comes to image classification. This can be either face recognition, or it can be character recognition, or it can be human, non-human classification, cat, dog, okay, classification, or vehicle classification, any of these things. But I assume that the object of interest is essentially spanning the whole image. Okay, it's not only at a particular region in the image. Okay, it's not just occupied here. Okay, it is there at overall the whole image, whatever may be the object of interest. Okay, let it be face, it can be somewhere here. Okay, so like that, it is spanning the whole image. For that I am extracting features. They can be either just name intensity features, okay, or HOG features, or even other histogram also can form as a feature vector. Okay, instead of HOG, histogram of orientation gradients, or histogram itself can act as a feature vector. Okay, here it can be HOG like histogram features. Right? Fine. So now in many of these applications, the dimensions of feature vectors are very large. Okay. So of the order of 10 power 3, 10 power 4, and so on. Okay. So usually for any of the Bayesian classification methods, you have seen that the decision boundary is okay in two feature case or two dimensional case itself is complicated. In 3-dimensional space, we can just imagine. Okay, 4-dimensional case, 5-dimensional case, we can't even imagine. Okay, so and the number of samples required to bring the decision boundaries in higher dimensions will also be high. That means if you need say 100 samples, okay, in 1-dimensional feature vector, if you have 1-dimensional features to perform a classification, then in 2-dimension, if you extract two features x1 and x2, then what you need is roughly okay 10 power 4, that is 10,000 samples. Okay, so the number of samples to perform classification tasks grow exponentially proportional to the dimensions of the features. Okay, so there is a need for more and more samples if you want to use more and more features for classification. So given all these things, we need some kind of dimensionality reduction techniques. While doing this dimensionality reduction for features before classification, okay, we also see that naively reducing the dimensionality. Do you think it serves the purpose? I have 40,000 features. Okay, I want to reduce the dimensions. Fine. I take first 4 features. Do you suggest that is a good method? Yes or no?
No, sir.
Yeah. So arbitrarily taking randomly 4 features I will pick. Is that fine? Is that fine or not? Huh?
No, sir. Still
No.
listening.
Yeah. So we need a feature selection method in fact. That means we don't want to arbitrarily pick some features. We need to selectively pick some features. Or we need a method which will effectively represent this 40,000 dimensional feature vector to say for whatever, okay, 40 cross 1 vector. This 40 cross 1 vector should be a summary in some sense of the whole 40,000 features. The performance that 40,000 feature vector can give should be given by this 40 cross 1 vector. Then we can say that it's a efficient dimensionality reduction method. Fine. So we will study a method of dimensionality reduction that has the power to do this. Okay. So what essentially we are discussing now is from image. Okay, we extract features, and features usually of high dimensions. and hence there is a need to reduce the dimensions of this. Okay, and after these are used for classification. Okay, so this is essentially what is the process people follow in some of the applications. In many of the applications, they used to follow this. Now there are some methods which will like implicitly take these things. Okay, but nevertheless, this is important. Okay, so now the question is, say assume that X now is a feature vector, X1, X2, and up to XD. And this feature vector belongs to RD, where D is large. Okay, so it's a high dimensional feature vector. If I want to perform classification, how many such X's I will have? Do I have only one sample and with feature vector of D cross 1? I should have several samples. Okay, and samples I have. Each of how much dimension? D cross 1 for performing classification task. Right? Now, the question here is, how effectively, like what, without having any knowledge of machine learning or whatever, pattern recognition and so on. Okay, if I ask you to reduce the dimensions, how do we approach? That we will see first. Then we will move on to some bringing of some elegance. Okay, on that. So to make the example simple, okay, I just put this feature vector. Okay, let this feature vector be 4, 1. Okay, so let it be in 2-dimensional Cartesian system. And the feature I am just trying to, this is x-axis. Let me put anyway x-axis and y-axis. Okay, so now the feature, this feature data sample will be where 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. Okay, this is the data sample. Okay, so now tell me, if I want to reduce the dimensionality for this feature vector, okay, if you want to put as a vector, you can put like this. Okay, if I want to reduce the dimensionality of this feature vector, okay, what's the suggestion you can give? I need some quick answers to move on fast.
Take the distance of the vector from the origin instead of taking both the points.
Okay, very good. One suggestion is take the distance from the origin, okay, instead of taking both the points. Okay, good. But the problem may be, see, I may have another feature vector which is exactly this side. Okay, the other feature vector x may be, okay, -4, 1, or yeah, it comma 4, -1 as well. Okay, this also has same distance. If I consider Euclidean distance, then both will represent the same. Okay, and I'm also have actually, okay, similar 4, 1, it may have root 5, right? So I may have 3, 2. Okay, some combination. It is not exactly 3, 2. Okay, so 1, 4 or whatever. Okay, so there are several feature vectors that have the same, exactly same value of the reduced feature. That is one problem. Second problem is, see, if I reduced feature, okay, so I will call it as, okay, so y I will call. Okay, capital, please distinguish between small x and small y and capital X, capital Y. Okay, small x, small y are referred to the like axis here, Cartesian coordinates. So if you prefer I and j also we can use. Okay, it's up to you. Okay, but capital X, capital Y are features. So reduced features y, maybe say 5, if I say, I can't get back from y, what is x? So x, okay, is equal to, or y equal to distance of x, if I say. Okay, y equal to distance of, okay, distance of x from 0, right? So it's norm of x. That's what you're saying, correct? So it is norm of x. or norm of x. If I say this, okay, second norm of x. If I say this, it is root 5. Okay, so I can't get back x from y. Okay, that's the other problem. Usually, if we reduce the dimensions, it should be such that whenever we wish to get the complete feature vector, we should have freedom to revert back, okay, from x to y as well. That is one of the important features, because after doing some processing on the reduced features, if you want to see in the original space, okay, how they look like and so on, okay, we should be able to get it. Yeah, any other suggestion? This is not a ruled out case, but this has these limitations. Any other suggestions on this? If I want to reduce the dimensions, okay, if I need to have a reduced dimensional representation, okay, any other suggestion on this?
Sir, can we take the eigenvalues of the vector?
For a single vector, you don't find you can't get eigenvalues and so on, right?
Like for multiple vectors, we identify the features that have maybe high eigenvalues.
Okay, fine. So we will go to that. It will come essentially towards that. But before going that, we want to see reduced feature how should it be? So for getting the reduced features and so on, you may have the intermediate step of using eigenvalues. See, I will give you some suggestion here. See, simply don't use any of the machine learning or pattern recognition knowledge as I said. See, if I give you 4, 1 as a feature vector or a Cartesian coordinate vector. So if I ask you to reduce with only one dimension, okay, so this belongs to 2 dimension. Okay, I ask you to reduce y, same x to y, okay, in 1 dimension. This belongs to this or yeah, 1 dimension. So what will you do in this case?
Can I just move it directly to the complex plane 4 plus j or something? That will keep the information as well.
No, that is complex number, you can't go. We are processing on real numbers.
Linear transformation we can do, sir.
Yeah, linear transformation we can do, but I am asking which linear transformation will you do and what is the simple thing? I don't mind dropping some information, even though I said that I want to preserve. Okay, I can drop the information, but I should be roughly closely go back to x. That's what I said. It not necessarily be exactly be x from y.
We can simply do a rotation.
Okay. So I think rotation, you are telling some tricks to me. I want the answer. Okay. So now x, another x I will give. Okay, 1, okay, 100. Now I want to have a reduced dimensional representation for it. This is the idea. Yeah.
How about we store only that coordinate which has more value and
right.
the other coordinate?
So that is a simpler way of doing. So what I will do is, okay, so I will just take this, represent this, approximate this, okay, by in a sense 0, 100, okay, or I will take the say if I consider this is x and I and j I have put, right? So if I put the reduced dimension y equal to 100, okay, so how do I get this reduced dimension? What I get is x in, say, y equal to, so what I'm doing, I'm only sampling the dimension wherein the magnitude of the feature is high. Okay, so it is essentially I'm finding dot product of x with which vector? So I'm finding dot product of x with 0, 1. Okay, I'm sampling only in the x and y, right? Y direction, because this is x and this is y. Okay, so this is x1. If I consider this as x1, x2, dot product I am writing here, and this is 0, 1. Essentially, I am getting x2. This is how the relation y equal to, sorry, this is capital Y. Y equal to x2 that I got. Fine or not? I am essentially, so what I'm doing, what is this process? So anyway, I'm sticking on to the dimension where the feature is more spread. Okay, the value of feature is high. Okay, but how am I achieving it? Through dot product
కావాలా
or through
ఇందులో ఇష్టం అందులో
projection. Okay, onto the axis of high feature value or feature spread. Is it fine or not? Is it clear? So essentially in this example, what I'm doing, I'm finding dot product with respect to the feature X to the dimension where there is a high feature value or feature spread from the origin. Is it fine or not? Oh, is it clear?
yes sir
Yeah. Now the question is, see, if this is the case, how much is the error in my like if I represent in stuff, okay, what I'm doing is instead of representing with X, any sample, I'm representing with Y, where Y equal to X transpose of, okay, X transpose of this feature vector, okay, whatever X transpose of the angle in which I am sampling. So this is 0, 1 here. Okay, so if I represent like this, okay, that is X2. If I represent like this, what is the error in my representation? If I ask you to find out error in my representation, how do you find it out? The question is this a complete representation of the feature vector X? If I represent Y equal to X2, okay, that means instead of storing X at my hand, okay, I will only keep preserve Y, okay, and then say that I have retained the sample, this first sample. So I am assuming that this first sample projection. Okay, so instead of keeping X1, the sample, okay, so we preserve Y1, that is projection of sample. Preserved means what? This may be used for, say, further processing, or this may be used for in signal processing and communication applications for transmission. If I reduce the dimensions like this, I will use only Y transmit to the Y dash, Y1, I will transmit to the other receiver end, okay, and then I will try to get back X1 from Y1 again at the receiver. So I want to calculate the error incurred in this projection. Okay, so how much can one of you guess? How should I find the error?
Euclidean distance, sir.
Yeah, Euclidean distance between what and what?
Between the projection and the original sample.
Right, between the projection and the original sample. But the original sample is, see, the original sample is in 2 dimensions. This is the X. Okay, X dash or X1. Okay, this is here. The projection is, I will write for small letters. Please excuse me for small and capital. Scalars I'm writing small. Okay, I will write a vector version of this. Okay, that in capital. Oh, this is X2. This is equal to whatever I have got, 100. Okay, but now this is in 1 dimension, this is in 2 dimensions. How do I find the mean square error or whatever?
Difference in norms.
2-dimensional representation of it. How do I have it? See, this I am calling it as, say, let this be E. Okay, the vector on which I am projecting the feature, okay, call this as E. Okay, so let us call this as E. Similarly, this also as E, and this also as E, and hence how you got is X transpose into E or X transpose E. Okay, so I am projecting onto a vector. Here it is a basis vector or a X like X axis or Y axis basis vector. Okay, so you are projecting onto the direction where there is a more spread or more higher feature values, okay, spread across, and that I represented. So now I have got Y, small y, by using the operation of X transpose E. Okay, so now what I want to have, I have to have a 2-dimensional representation corresponding to this, okay, whatever projection I have got. Okay, this Y1. So what should I do now? Capital Y, I want to get in 2 dimension. Okay, given the information that I have got the y dash from X transpose E. Okay, so can you give me some idea on how do I get a two-dimensional approximation of this X dash, or from X dash from this X2 or Y1?
Y1 into E, sir.
Y1 into E, because Y1 is a scalar, okay, and E is a vector. E is what vector on which I have projected. Okay, so this gives an approximation of X1 dash, and then this is equal to 100 into 0, 1, and this is equal to 0 and 100. Okay, and still this is an approximation. Why this is an approximation? Oh, this is still Y dash. I have extracted this only from Y dash, the projection I have got. This is projection value. Okay, and this is the projection. What is this? Direction of projection. Using these two, whatever I have reconstructed, this is reconstructed Y. In original dimensions, okay, in 2D. So now the error, if I want to, error in projection, if I want to quantify, how do I quantify the error in projection now?
Yeah, Euclidean distance between X and Y.
Yeah. Between what and what?
Capital X and
dash
capital.
and capital X.
Yeah. So fine. Oh, so this is the error in projection. How much is in this example? How much in this example is this? If I evaluate this, how much do I get?
1, sir.
Yeah, 1. Okay. So this is what we see as the error in projection. Now, see, instead of projecting onto Y direction, okay, if I project onto the X direction, what is the problem? So if somebody may say that, okay, so this here we have taken the Y direction, fine, projected. Okay, so but actually if I want to project E, if I want to define it as, okay, or E dash, if I define it as 1, 0. Okay, so in that case, what is the error I may get in projection? Do I get higher error or lower error?
Higher error, sir.
I will get how much higher error?
You'll get 10 as the errors.
Yeah, so we will get in fact 100 as the error. So this is even dash, if I are even, so if we consider, so then Y dash is equal to, okay, X transpose into E dash, that is equal to X transpose into, okay, this is into, and then this is equal to 1 I will get. Okay, and hence if reconstructed Y will be equal to 1, 0 again. Okay, so hope that this process is clear. Now error in projection is equal to root of all that. If you do, it is 100, right? Am I correct or not?
Yes, sir.
Right. So what does this indicate? This indicates that we have to consider the direction of projection where the feature values are high. When you consider only one sample, you are saying feature values are high. Now the question is, assume that I have several samples. At least let us have 2 samples. Okay, one sample like this. I keep plotting samples now. Okay, to make our example simple, I will probably initially bring. Now, in which direction should I project? Is it on the X direction or on the Y direction, or on the horizontal like I direction or J direction? In which direction do you suggest me to project the samples? Say this ranges from, say I will put 10, okay, of scale of 10. So this finally, assume that it goes up to whatever. So it goes up to some 150. In which yeah, maybe some 150 or something. Okay, so you suggest me to project onto the X direction. I will write probably, I think here. Okay, if we want to easily distinguish EY, we can write. That's also fine. So let me Yeah. Okay. So should we project onto the I direction or Y direction, J direction, or the corresponding vectors if we write it as Ex and Ey? Okay, on which vector should we project to get a better, a smaller error in projection? Now this is not one sample, we have many samples.
EX, sir.
We have to project on Ex. Ex is equal to what? 10. So it captures the variation in X directions. Okay, Y direction, what we are doing? For all Y directional things, we are putting 0 value. So we are not bothered about the variation in Y direction. Okay, so now what is the essence of this discussion? We have to project onto that direction which captures
The distribution
huh?
captures the direction of distribution.
Direction as it captures what? I need a very good word here.
The direction of variance.
Yeah, maximum variation of samples. Okay, so variation across all samples. That's the direction we catch and try to project. If there is no clear such direction, it's okay. You can project on Y direction, X direction, it's fine. Okay, but if there is a direction in which you have a maximum spread of samples or variation of samples, then it is preferred to project onto that direction. Is it fine or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let us move on to a slightly different example. So now assume that we have samples like this. So they are not spread either X direction or Y direction. Oh, samples are like this. So now, to which direction should I project?
Sir, like we can do like a linear regression to see the line which passes.
Eh, Fine. Okay. So we have to see the linear regression to find the line passing through this and then we'll project. Fine. In 2 dimensions, it is okay. You will see a line. Okay. In 3 dimensions, 5 dimensions, you see planes. Okay. But in some cases, these samples may not be easily by a line. So I will bring in another scenario. Okay, the samples are like this. Okay, you can't fit a fitting line may not be opt here. And some samples, this is another scenario where you can see some samples are like this. Okay, these both together are the samples. Ex, Ey we will put probably, I think that's anyway we want to take vectors, right? Finally. Yeah. So we want to take now, tell me which direction should I fit a line again and see? So I may have a scenario, okay, where some samples are even here. So what should we do? Essentially, the idea here, whatever we conveyed in the last discussion is, we have to take a direction in which the spread of samples is maximum. Okay, here, this may be the direction in which the spread of samples is maximum. Here also, if you consider all across, this may be the direction in which the spread of samples is maximum. Okay, so even though if they fit to line or doesn't fit to line, it doesn't matter. Okay, so here if you project onto this line, what will happen? All these samples, see, essentially if you project onto this x-axis, where does this sample go? Where does this sample go? If you project onto x-axis, where does the sample go? It comes and falls here, correct? This sample, where does it go? It comes and falls here. This comes and falls here. Yes or no? You people are able to imagine this? Now in one dimension, on the x directional dimension, okay, if on vector Ex, if you look, the samples are like this. The red samples, whichever I have plotted, are exactly equal to, okay, equivalent representations of the samples which are in, okay, pink here, right? So it's like that. So now if I represent all these samples on this line, what will happen? These samples will have the replica, their projections here, or they are represented by these one-dimensional projections in this direction? Yes or no? There may be two samples may overlap also sometimes. Okay, in this one-dimensional projection. Okay, so exactly these two samples may be like this. Okay, maybe exactly at same point. Because we are bringing from higher dimensions to lower dimensions. Is this clear or not? So here, again here, these are the samples. See, instead, if I go the projection on the opposite direction, okay, here assume that I want to go to the projecting onto, this is the direction of maximum spread, higher spread. Instead of this, assume that I want to project onto another direction. Okay, which direction you suggest? Any other direction is fine. Okay, let me put this direction I want to put. Okay, so this is direction 1. Okay, and this is direction 2. Okay, I want to project on this direction. What may happen in this case? Do you think you will see the samples now? If you see the sample is here, you're able to see or not? I'm just projecting the samples. Okay, all the samples are here. Okay, and then all samples are here. Now if you see D1 versus D2, okay, in which case the projection errors will be smaller?
D1 case.
D1, very good. And see, our motive is not just representing the samples in smaller dimensions. What is our main motive? Our main motive is classifying the samples later. See, assume that these all belongs to one class. Okay, so these all belongs to no, okay, omega 1 class. These all belongs to omega 2 class. These all belongs to omega 3 class. Okay. So in which case do you think you can separate these samples well? If I project onto D1 and use those projections, do I have the better flexibility to classify class 1, class 2 and class 3 samples? Or if I project onto D2 and then use those projections to classify, I have a better classification accuracy, provision for classification. Which one do you?
Sir.
D1. So the idea of projecting the samples is finally for, especially when we consider in terms of classification tasks or machine learning, is classification. And but however, the method we are discussing now is trying to figure out a dimension in which the projected samples will still have a larger spread even after projection, and that minimizes the projection error. Okay, is that clear or not? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now the question is this. See, I am in this two-dimensional case, you are able to visualize and then we are trying to figure out, right, okay, what is the dimension of maximum spread of samples and say that this is the direction you have to project. Okay, but how do I find it out in higher dimensions? The problem itself is that X belongs to higher dimension, right? Okay, D is much higher. Okay, so then how should I do it in higher dimensions? That's the question now. I have several samples with me. And how do I come up and say that this is the direction in which you should project? Okay. Even here you need a mathematical expression guiding it to say that this is the maximum dimension, like this is the dimension in which you have to project. Okay, because see, you can't keep sketching and say that this is the direction, right? You have to exactly give the equation of line. Okay, equation of direction. Okay, or the direction E in which I have to project. So the takeoff point from the discussion is, what is direction E? Okay, then maximize spread of projected samples, or that is in the direction of maximum spread of samples. Okay, or that minimizes what? Minimizes mean square error in projection. Okay, fine. So this is what we want to find out. Second question is, if I find out that, so what is the way of projecting? We are assuming most of the times that projection means it's a perpendicular projection. Okay, so is that the way or any other ways? We want to look that as well. Okay, so essentially we want to find out, given the samples, okay, x1 to xn, what we want to do is this, and how should we project? Okay, and third thing is, what is the projection error? Because based on the projection error, I can say how good it is. Okay, these are the things we need to figure out, not just in 2 dimensions, but in general case. Is this clear? So now let me put some of the math here. So xk be the sample. Okay, let all the samples, any of the sample in this is xk, represented by, okay, I am writing xk here. If you feel it is difficult to correlate, we will write here itself. Okay, so right, xk, given sample. What I want to do is, for this sample xk, okay, I want to find out the E be the direction of projection. Just to start the discussion, I am assuming that E is the direction of projection. So what we have seen, the projection vector or the projection value is AK. I am defining the math here, just that using the notations that we had before, and I am introducing few more notations. What is here? E? E is direction of projection. And what is AK? AK is what? Can one of you tell what is AK? Here, what is AK? Say in this example, okay, what is AK? AK means for this sample, so this is A1 in some sense. Okay, for this sample 1, what is the projection length? Okay, so that we are considering as AK. Say AK is projection length. Okay, and what is XK? XK is what? Sample in RD to be projected. Fine. This is how we have done so far. Now, given this scenario, what is E that maximize, that is best, okay, in capturing the variation of all samples? Is this clear or not? Is this clear? Between these two dot product is there. Okay. So let me write the expression, that is AK is equal to XK minus M. Okay. See dot product I want to expand. So E transpose into XK. Okay, I can write XK transpose into E or E transpose into XK. Okay, this is the EK. See, I also want to subtract M, because if there are more samples, see, I can calculate the projection length from origin or from the mean of samples. So if this is the mean of samples, okay, if I say that this is the mean of samples, okay, I can calculate the projection length from the mean of samples. Okay, so if I calculate it from projection length from the mean of samples, then I will write this is AK is equal to E transpose into XK minus M. This is the how I projection length I got. Now I want to find best E. For what? For which all samples x1, x2 up to xk, xn. Okay, if I project through and get A1, A2 up to AN, I will have, okay, minimum reconstruction error.
Sir, why are you considering distance from the means?
Why are we considering distance from the means? That's what you're asking.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, see, if the samples are like this, it is fine. They're centered around the mean. But in some cases, if the samples itself are like this. So if I want to consider the projection error and and so on, all the time calculating from here is not a good thing. So we want to figure out where the mean is. Okay. And from there, we want to calculate the direction of projection. Okay. And then projection lengths and projection errors and so on.
Okay.
Yeah. So in the next class, we will quantify what is the reconstruction error in this case. Okay. So that is, as I said, yk is equal to reconstruction error is ak into e. Okay. So we will see that this has to be, this is reconstructed sample. Okay. What I have taken is xk minus m. I have projected on and got the reconstruction. That is yk. So I will see that actually the reconstruction error is minimized. Okay. So this is approximation of this. So we will see that this reconstruction error is minimized. So what I am trying to do is, here I have written the projection length or the way of projection. Using this projection length, I have back calculated the projected sample in higher dimensions and the error between them. Okay, this has to be as small as possible. So essentially, I will see in the next class how to minimize this across all samples and get the best direction of E. Okay, that I will formulate in the next class. The cost function, and then we formulate the cost function and we minimize it to get best E. Okay. So is this clear?
Sir, there's one doubt, sir.
Yeah.
Well, in reconstruction, sir, we won't, if we take an error like this, then we won't be able to identify in which direction the sample was there, right? I mean, which direction of the projection axis the sample was there.
What do you mean? So if in this example, you don't know whether it is if you just tell 100, you won't be able to know two-dimensional thing. That's what you're saying or what?
Yes, sir. From when reconstruction, we don't know if it is lying on the positive side of the y-axis or negative side of y-axis.
No, you can say that. Only thing is y you can't say. See here, say this x1 is equal to -1 or even -10. Okay, 100. This also I will be projecting onto 1, 0, right? Sorry, 0, 1, right? So in that case, I will not know this y-axis things. Yeah, I will not know. That is, those all comes under projection errors.
Yes, sir.
So even -1, 100. Okay, all that we will miss. That's why we are saying that we are trying to, anyway, there is a loss of information. Okay, and there is a projection error associated with.
So, sir, can't we just take the dimension instead of the Euclidean distance? Can't we just take the value of the dimension itself? Like, can't we take -10 in this case as the error?
No. -10 you can't take because you can't get it. See, you are looking at the sample and saying that it is -10. But after projection, what you have is 0, 100 only. Okay, after projection, you have 0, 100 only. So how do you know it is -10 or so error you can't take? Okay, you are saying that fine. Error is usually the distance that people want to see, error in projection. So even if it is +10, 100 or -10, 100, you have the same error in projection.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, from that you are not deriving any further things. You are just quantifying the error. If you do something more using that, I think then you can take the signs and so on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So any other questions? Otherwise, we will discuss tomorrow.
So there is a small jump.
Yeah.
So our basic purpose of reducing the dimension, the final purpose is classification, right?
Right.
So
Right.
shouldn't the dimensionality reduction be in the direction which differentiates the mean of particular classes or the variance of overall samples? Because
Right,
that
right. Correct.
direction might
See,
actually curtail the feature which is differentiating the samples.
Right. See, there are different methods. One method doesn't differentiate mean of particular, doesn't initially discuss about classification as a goal. the method that I'm discussing now, that is principal component analysis, doesn't is also helpful in classification, but its main aim is just reducing the projection error. Okay, irrespective of from which class they have come from. There is other method called Fisher's linear discriminant. Thus, initially takes the mean of different classes, variance of different classes, try to use them to separate them better. So that has different motive. Yeah. So this method doesn't differentiate it. We are using for classification, it works for classification, but its main aim is not for classification. It is just to differentiate the samples in with minimizing the projection errors. That's all. Yeah, fine then. No, we'll conclude here. Thank you.